Welcome to Sports Geek Amplify, where we profile sports technology solutions to drive results for your sports business. In this Sports Geek Amplify episode, we chat with the founders of Teammo, an online payment solution that takes the headache out of grassroots match payments. Here's your host, founder of Sports Geek, Sean Callanan.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sports Geek Amplify series. My name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, and in this series, we're profiling great sports technology companies that can help sports bounce back. In this episode, we are talking to the founders of Teammo. Welcome Andrew McIntosh and Sarah Stocks, the co-founders of Teammo. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Sean.
Well, first of all, what I like to do, old school Twitter style, 140 characters. I just want your elevator pitch. Sarah, what is Teammo?
Awesome. Well, hopefully this is 140 characters. But Teammo is essentially what we enable is grassroots sports teams, clubs, associations, and leagues to go cashless through better collection, management, and reconciliation of sports payments. So if you're a team manager, a volunteer, or an administrator, we help you collect payments online and save you time and money so you don't have to do any manual processes and can avoid all the headaches and awkwardness around chasing money from people and teams.
Terrific work, terrific work. The thing is with Jack changing the Twitter limit from 140, now people are happy with 280. We can't get that brevity, but that's okay. We understand what the product is now. That's the problem. What I do want to find out is more about the origin story. So I caught up with you guys to sort of understand where Teammo came from. Andrew, do you want to give us a bit of background of how Teammo came about?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's a good question, Sean, because I guess sports payments and I guess chasing money in sport, unfortunately, has always been there since day one of sport.
Yep.
Especially with grassroots. So no different to us. Several years ago, I was playing a lot of domestic basketball, sort of 3 games a week, and being the 20-year-old university students that we were, I was always out of pocket, and it got to the point where I wasn't actually playing the first sort of quarter of a game, just because I was trying to get money from people and make sure that when we're all financial and we're paying the association. That led to me sort of going, oh, this is a bit frustrating. Actually impacted my love of playing basketball.
Yep.
And I guess fast forward a few years after that, I was working in a separate business, which we created a payments platform and sort of parked the problem and the idea for a few years. And that business now has done billions of dollars in terms of transactions. And I've got a lot more experience. And we revisited this issue 3 years ago now. And we sort of said, look, why are people still out of pocket? Why are people still got the plastic pocket with cash in it? And why are the heroes of sport, who are the team managers, the clubs, the associations, why are they sort of doing all the hard work when there is technology out there to actually solve it for them?
Yeah, so it really does come out of that, a lot of more cashless payments. The way we pay for things has changed, but yeah. I can definitely I'm definitely familiar with what you're talking about. Someone with a little snap lock bag that's going around collecting the $12 or the $8.50 or whatever it was, and then you'd have to be doing change. And again, we've now, we'll talk a little bit later, but like we're moving to a cashless society, so it makes sense that something like that can be applied to the world of sport.
Exactly right, and that's the realization that we had. And as we explored it more, we actually started talking to the leagues and the associations, and we realized that, leagues and associations, they're just small businesses with a few staff members who have all got very key responsibilities, and they all work with hundreds, if not thousands of people. So the challenge and the origin story there is that we're small business owners ourselves.
Yep.
And we can understand and sympathize with them that, hey, this is actually not an easy task that they've got. And whether it's accepting phone calls for forfeits or answering questions about why is my team fixtured here and not there, and all the manual processes. That's what we're really here. We see ourselves as an operational platform, and I guess we'll talk to that more shortly.
So Sarah, Andrew sort of talked about some of the issues and some of the problems you are solving. So who have been some of your early clients, some of your early adopters that have said, hey, this is a solution that we want? Who have been some of your key clients early on?
Yeah, really good question. I think I'll touch on maybe from a team and club perspective first before going
Yep.
into like the leagues that use our platform. But we have thousands of teams and clubs using the platform to, one, I guess, collect payments from their teams or team members. And that previously that kind of replaces the need to either collect cash in person or ask everyone to transfer to this bank account, and then we have to reconcile everything
Yep.
manually, which we see a lot of clubs do. And so it kind of eliminates, as Andrew kind of spoke to, we don't want people having to collect cash in the day, worrying if someone has forgotten to bring money or having to manually track payments. So for teams and clubs, the platform really helps them kind of automate that process. And particularly we see teams, maybe parents who are managing a team who aren't really friendly with all the other parents. Teamer can kind of take the awkwardness out of the money conversation. If
Yep.
you're not, if you don't know everyone really well. An example of a club which you'd be familiar with, Ballarat Wildcats basketball club. I don't know if you want
Yep.
to talk to your connection
Well,
there.
that's the thing. It sort of started this conversation, Sarah. We were talking about the Amplify series, and you were explaining the product to me. And yeah, the Ballarat Wildcats is my former junior club, and now my
Yep.
brother is running that club. And I said, hey,
Yeah.
Matt, you should be looking at Teammo, because he's doing that exact same thing of sending out a link and telling everyone to transfer money into one account, and then someone having to check that,
Yeah.
oh,
The
did
poor
Jono
treasurer.
pay, or did so and
Yeah.
so pay? And so yeah, so it's been a lifesaver for him and his committee. So that's it from a club level. It provides
Yeah.
a really good upside.
Yeah, so they, I think in January, they were collecting season fees from about 280 members. Previously, that would be, as you mentioned, everyone put money into this bank account, and then the poor treasurer has to then figure out, like look at all the bank statement and figure out who's paid what. So
Yep.
now they've kind of transitioned to Teammo, which is simply set it all up in Teammo. We do all the hard work and send out the payment requests via SMS. Every member just simply pays via the link that's given to them. And then the club gets all the reporting that we provide them around this is who's paid for what, and it's easy to reconcile compared to what they were doing previously. And I know that they've had really good feedback from members about how simple it was for them to do as well, because no one needs to have an account. It's just the club that
Yep.
has the account.
Yep.
And
And
the fee
that's
structure is super simple as well for them. So
Yep, and that's
yeah,
leveraging the stuff that, Andrew, you've worked on previously in the payment system. We're now used to via whether it's Uber Eats or new ticketing platforms, getting a
Yep.
link, hitting it up. There's a mobile payment cart, payment cart type of
yep,
thing, and they fill out their details, and it's done. So like that's
yep,
the piece that makes it easier. And Sarah, your background is in customer experience, like getting that workflow right to make it, because there's a lot of tools that come out there that just put a really bad process and
yep,
digitize it. Like you would have
yeah.
spent a lot of time making that right.
Completely. And I guess a key point of that is we have a lot of teams, probably the most prevalent use case is the teams collecting that $8.50, $7 a week.
Yep.
And the platform, the workflow that we've built into the platform is once you've made a payment once, you can just reply by paying to the text message using the
Yep.
3-digit code. So we don't want people having to click a link every week either. So there's some things we've built into the platform to make it just reduce all barriers. So no one needs to have an account. You can just pay by text message, which is a really good form of communication that we see more so than email, I suppose.
And so that's I guess that's level one. Like that's the clubs, but really the bigger
Yeah.
benefit is the leveling up to the leagues and the associations. So what does Teammo look like at a league or association level?
Yeah, that's a great segue. So I guess with leagues, associations, maybe indoor sports centers, obviously there's lots of clubs and teams affiliated with those, but they essentially are businesses. So they have a whole range of staff. It could be operations people, competition management people. So what we do is remove the need. I guess the most simplest form of what we do is we remove the need to have any in-person payment collection,
Yep.
which is probably the biggest value we provide is that if you're collecting regular fees, it could be monthly, weekly, whatever it is, you're doing that via cash or FPOS, we digitize that so you can get rid of those. So you don't need to have someone at the door collecting those fees from teams. And we, as part of doing that, I suppose, is we also make it easy for them to reconcile. So no longer are you having to reconcile cash, FPOS payments, bank transfer.
Yep.
Maybe some people do invoicing, like teams and clubs all do pay differently. So we kind of allow you to consolidate all that and provide you all the reporting so that usually finance and accountants love what we do because we give them all the information and make their jobs a lot easier. And as Andrew always sort of says, often they're the people that are forgotten about in a business, finance people and the headaches that they have to deal with. So yeah, what we do is sort of allow them to automate the processes, because we shouldn't really have to worry about payments. Like, we should be focusing on the sport. And I guess COVID as well has meant that part of last year, biosafety officers were required, so extra staff were needed. So Teammo was really useful for businesses that were using us, because you didn't have to worry about having someone at the door to collect payments, and meant that they could have extra staff on for biosafety and all that kind of stuff. So I guess an example of a customer there, our first customer actually, Nunawading Basketball Association, they've been using Teammo for about 3 years. They've been very progressive about optimizing their processes. So they were, we're talking to them 3 years ago about how they can make their business cashless. And COVID kind of at the start of this year has made them rethink things a bit more. And they've recently just made all their competitions. So they've got like 700 junior teams, 300 senior teams. Teammo's compulsory as a payment method to pay for games and make payments to them as a business. So this has helped them. I guess what they've benefited from by using Teammo is they've consolidated roles within the stadium and venues that they use. So they've eliminated, I wouldn't say eliminate staff, but they've consolidated roles. So previously you might have someone collecting money, someone at the canteen, and you've got other staff doing things. They've been able to combine that role in sort of one person, which has helped them save time, save money. We've helped them reduce time and costs around collecting fines for like things like forfeits, because we do kind of automate that whole process. But I think the main thing that we've done with them as an organization is they don't need to have anyone collecting in-person payments, and it's a great process for teams and clubs because everything's online and no one has to worry about money when they're at the stadium. They can just rock up, play the game. And that's really important, particularly in these times of this COVID normal, where you can't have currently people hanging around the stadium pre-match, post-match, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of, and I think from a finance perspective as well, it's helped them simplify reconciliation because they've only got one payment method, Teammo. So we provide all the reporting, and it's really easy for their accountant to kind of reconcile all the money that's coming through week by week.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Andrew, I want to ask you, because like you did the concept and the pain point was the match payments, but as Sarah sort of highlighted there, the product suite has grown on all the different ancillary features that come around payments that you're making life easier, like forfeits and teams ghosting organizations. Like just being able to give that high level view from an association point of view is probably opened up the suite of offering that Teammo offers for associations.
Yeah, so to be like fully transparent here, Sean, like what we did is we had a product which was, we still have a really good solution for managers and clubs to collect money from teams. And we said, okay, that's great. Well, we still need to get some more customers on board. So we said, who's like associations are a good candidate to talk to. And what that means is that we've now got the ability for them to be in the one sort of system, so they can collect if they want. They don't have to. If they find collecting via their own method, as in like a cash in the plastic pocket is still what they want to do, that's fine. But what we're able to do is give managers the ability to say, collect money from my team members, and then also pay the association all within the one application. So that's the improved offering. The end to end is being solved in that way. And I think maybe one thing Sarah probably didn't touch on or emphasize enough is how painful things like forfeits and those edge cases are, because no team wants to ring their association at 7 p.m. at night when the last two people have told the team manager that they can't play the match. And the association doesn't want to take that phone call, to be honest. So that's a huge pain point there. And it's sort of like the catalyst for looking at certain manual processes which are painful for both sides.
Yeah, and so that does help, solve. And we are very, basketball focused. That's where you've started. But like as a use case, this works, like you said, indoor sports facilities, cricket, all different sports. It pretty much comes down to, do you have this issue of collecting payments and reconciling those payments that works across multiple sports?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really good point to raise there, Sean, because like we see a lot of success with venues where you might have your one oval, you might have your primary school court, you might have several venues essentially, which don't all have the FPOS facility. My local park certainly doesn't have a power outlet and a internet cable for collecting credit card payments there. And a lot of associations don't necessarily have the facilities to collect those payments, even if they've got a normal venue. So our solution obviously has a solution, is a solution for that problem, which is collect money online upfront. That's prior to them even showing up to their game or match, whatever it be. And the other thing is something we're very passionate about is sport is typically played outside of work hours.
Yep.
But the people who are running the competition are working within work hours. So if we can distribute the workload throughout their normal business day, which is giving people the ability to pay up front, but not also charging them at the start of the season, because we also have got to be one of the things is that we do want to make sport easier to participate in and more accessible. Not everybody can afford their upfront season fees of $500 if they've got 3 kids and playing 2 different sports. So for those associations which do offer, which I think is a great thing, that do offer your weekly payments or monthly payments to break it down, I feel like we've got a really great solution to tackle the pain points around doing that.
And it's also about the flexibility. Like I know with my local community club, Marcus will be the one. He sends out the email and says, this is what the payments are. He figures it out for the whole year. And he says, everyone, you've got to pay me once. And then you find out, throughout the year, someone doesn't play, So just having the flexibility to go, oh, we do want to do the upfront payment and that's sorted and it's all good. Or, hey, we're just having a weekly payment. Because even then I was at, people are still texting money backwards and forwards, on a weekly basis. And that's the pain point for a team manager or someone in the association space.
Exactly right.
So what I want to do now is look at the triple threat. James is going to put the sting right here. And we're going to look at 3 different ways that Teammo helps sports in 3 really key things. So time. First of all, how is Teammo a time saver?
Awesome. So we eliminate the need to collect in-person payments. We've mentioned that a few times. That's a big time saver. The accounting side for associations get reconciliation reports, which they can import directly into their accounting software. The other one is just being the first line of defense, really, not to use the sporting analogy too much, but for any payments queries or support queries, our goal is to take away that payments challenge for the association. So they're not getting the extra 4 or 5 phone calls in the Tuesday afternoon before they wrap up for the day.
The key one there is the poor finance person reconciling, and then just the physical collection of trying to go get people payments, like just removing that, again, allowing people to concentrate on playing sport, which is what what we're all here for. From a money point of view, how does Teammo help save money or even make money? Is there certain things like, I guess, leakage of payments or non-payments that Teammo helps solve problems that would have been in a more of a cash world, Andrew?
Yeah, so obviously the obvious ones are if you're paying for card terminals, they typically come with a monthly cost. So that's a saving that you get there. Obviously repurposing staff. But some of the ones that are less obvious, there's a certain element of risk if you're holding cash. So that's a big one where the associations want to reduce that risk of cash being held. And by the end of the day, you've got several $1,000s on hand. And then on the flip side is, this is a very generic one for teams and clubs, but when I used to play basketball, the team manager would always say, just give me $10 a week, just round it up, essentially. So what we're doing is say, actually, you just pay the amount that's needed for the game or for the match or for the payment. So there's
effectively a saving for players because people are trying to make it easier by rounding it up. And like you said, it's meant to be $8.50 a week, and you go, it's $10, and so all of those extra $1.50s end up somewhere. And then last one is the resources one, which you've pretty well articulated. That one, it's from a team manager point of view, but then also there's a really large resource saving and deploying from an association point of view.
Yeah, so sure. This is a really important one for us. We want to keep it simple. That's our main thing with this sort of solution. Often when customers of ours are implementing Teammo, it's going to be in each one's going to be a slightly different scenario, but our goal is that we don't have any lock-in contracts. There are no annual fees. The goal is to save you money, save you time, obviously, but also just to make a solution work.
Yep.
So the main investment that we require from, say, an association or a league looking into Teammo is we often just have a half-hour call, just discuss what their problems are. We'll get into how the pitch shortly about how easy it is to get going, but the biggest investment really is when they're ready to launch it to their customers is communicating. So they've just got to be willing to put their hands up and say, hey, we endorse this solution, and we're going to communicate it really well with our teams.
Yeah, and we've seen, obviously, the past 12 to 18 months, sport, and especially community sport, largely affected by COVID. How did COVID change? I mean, change your product, but also the industry overall?
Yeah, it's been challenging for everyone. Obviously, it's definitely given the associations who are looking for change time to think about change, and also an accelerated timeline to do that change. So, in many ways, I don't see ourselves as a COVID product, but because this has been happening for several years, but certainly we are in the crosshairs of associations who are looking to go cashless. Besides, to be honest, besides the cashless component, let's talk about the 5-day lockdown we had recently as an example, Sean. That was chaos for our customers, and we're connected to that chaos. So I like to think that throughout that 5-day process, we were able to reduce their workload and actually get them back to playing sport within as soon as it was able to be started. So I feel like we handled, I would say, 90% of that workload when it came to queries and support and payments, and that was really.
I mean, it's a really good example. I mean, for the people who don't know, we are all based in Melbourne. We had a recent 5-day lockdown in the middle of the Australian Open. Shout out to our friends at Tennis Australia. They couldn't take fans halfway through their tournament, but yeah, there was a lot of community sport cancelled over those 5 days, and so a pre-Teammo world would have been, oh, that team paid, that team didn't pay, this team paid, this team hasn't paid. Oh, we've got to roll that through to next week. For mine, you guys have built a product that's built for the COVID world. You didn't have the foresight that a pandemic was on its way, but we are, like you said, it has accelerated a lot of digital innovations and digitization of sport overall. And that's the space that you guys are playing in to be able to make things easier. And, also our behavior has been changing over the past 5 years, and that's also accelerated in the last 12 months. So, all hospitality venues being cashless. I was at John Cain Arena recently, and it's completely cashless. So no one is actually pulling out cash and spending it on anything. And so it makes it, something that's easy to use. Now we get to the point. Go.
Oh, sorry, Sean. Sorry, I was just going to say that's probably the last sort of thing I would say to any associations who's umming and ahhing about looking at going cashless, is that besides all the value that we offer to an association to transform their business, the other thing is 99% of our customers we don't hear from. They just expect it to be cashless and online these days, and that's really important because that's what teams and participants are asking for. And finally, sport is catching up.
Definitely. I mean, I can open up my wallet and there's no money in there. It's not because I'm tight. It's because I'm not actually using cash anymore. Right? I literally don't. I walk around and I have my phone and it's got Google Pay, and that does the job. And that's the thing. We're moving. When someone says, "Oh, can you please pay with cash?" It's like I haven't gone to an ATM in 12 months. So it's just
more of a hassle.
It is more of a, it is more of a hassle. Like everyone's moving into a cashless space. So this is where I get into the Sports Geek pitch as a recap, where I take your product and do my best to understand it using the iFormula. You know how what we do is, in fact, and so the way I've come up for this for Teammo is, how collecting match payments, especially in the cash world, is an absolute headache for grassroots sports all around the world. What Teammo do is provide a contact-free, COVID-safe method to collect match payments. In fact, Teammo has collected match payments for over 10,000 matches already and helped thousands of clubs go cashless. There you go. That's what Teammo is, everybody. reduce some of those headaches, your finance treasurer people will love you. Like, that is the main thing. So if you're listening to this and you have someone in the finance team, or you're running a club and it's a pain to do this, that's exactly what we need to do. Sarah, where should people go, and how can we get people onboarded to Teammo?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sean. So if people visit teammo.com.au/sportsgeek or sportsgeekamplify.com/Teammo, we'll have information and links.
Oh, you've done a terrific job. You're doing my call outs for me, Sarah. That's terrific. So people go to those sites, and you're an association. What are the association or a league going to get if they come and say hello?
Yeah, so we'd love to chat to you. So you might be running you might be a competitions manager, the GM, CEO, operations manager, finance person. We want to chat to all of you. So for the first 20 customers that sign up to Teammo and mention SportsGeek, what we'll do is waive our onboarding fee, which is $1,000. So we'll waive that. And then in addition to that, we'll run 2 Zoom sessions with your organization. So one will be, which I think Andrew mentioned earlier on, one will be just to understand your business better, the problems that you have from a payments perspective. We can talk about how other organizations have solved those problems for them, and then just discuss how Teammo could be best utilized. And then second session we'll run, which is probably the most important, is training with your clubs and teams and other stakeholders you might have on how Teammo can benefit them, how they can use it, because change management for any new technology, particularly in the last 12 months, is really important. So yeah, we'll waive the onboarding fee. And sorry, you go.
No, that's all right. There's no need to apologise. So first 20 customers, go to sportsgeekamplify.com/Teammo or teammo.com.au/sportsgeek. Mention SportsGeek, and you get that onboarding fee waived. $1,000 waived. The question I have that listeners potentially might have is, how long does it take? Like, different, bring in new tools and different architecture and payment systems. Like, what is the turnaround if someone says, "Hey, Sarah, hey, Andrew, we want to sign up"? What's the standard turnaround that you can get people collecting payments via Teammo?
Yeah, it will obviously vary from organization to organization, but we can get you up and running within 3 to 4 weeks. You can be accepting and collecting payments. The actual setup for us is easy on our end, getting you in the system. It's more communicating to your teams and clubs and onboarding, all that kind of stuff. And I guess one thing I'll call out there is there's no lock-in contracts. So Teammo, we only ever want you to use Teammo if it's going to provide value. And the fee structure that we have is very simple, and that's just transaction fee based. So there's no, as Andrew mentioned, there's no annual fees or license you have to pay. You don't have to use us for 3 years. So yeah, within a month, we'll get you up and running and accepting.
There you go. Payments. It's pretty straightforward. Up and running within a month. All the fees are exactly the same with all these other products that we're using on a regular basis, where as a user, you understand that you're paying those fees. So really do appreciate it. Go to teammo.com.au/sportsgeek. I'd really love to hear from more teams and associations signing up, and also branching into different sports. I think there's a real opportunity there. So don't forget, you can go to sportsgeekamplify.com/Teammo for all the details here. Please thank you to my guests, Sarah Stocks, Andrew McIntosh from Teammo. You can find them on LinkedIn if you look up their names, but all the details will be in the show notes. That's it from me for this episode of Sports Geek Amplify. Please check out all of the other episodes of the other cohort in the Sports Geek Amplify series. And if you've got someone that has a pain point around collecting match payments, please send them this episode. My name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek Amplify.
Please check out all episodes of the Sports Geek Amplify series at sportsgeekamplify.com. To connect with Sarah and Andrew at Teammo, go to sportsgeekamplify.com/Teammo. Join the Sports Geek Amplify cohort on a special #SportsBizZoom reunion show on June 8th and 9th. sportsgeekhq.com/Zoom calls. Watch all Sports Geek Amplify interviews at sportsgeekamplify.com. This has been a Sports Geek production.